Mikey the Hitman Hatton, and you're watching Lights Out.
This is Lights Out. I'm Faisal Khan, joined by John Rawling. We're here at the Roberto Garcia versus Martin Murray press conference. John, how are you doing today? You alright?
Very well, thank you.
Excellent. Okay, so obviously it was Martin Murray scheduled to fight Billy Joe Saunders for the middleweight title of the world. Billy Joe Saunders had to withdraw from the fight due to an injury, and in steps Roberto Garcia. Now, what type of fight can the viewers expect on Saturday night from Roberto Garcia?
Well, Garcia's a tough guy. He's not lost for a long time. I think you go back to 2010 or thereabouts when he lost to Antonio Margarito. He's won 13 on the spin, and he comes into this as the silver champion. He beat Omar Chavez, son of Julio Cesar Chavez, to take that title, and Chavez had been the big favourite to win that. Garcia apparently carried the whole fight to him, had a tremendous sense of belief, and he fancies the job against Martin Murray. He tweeted Martin and said, you know, Billy Joe Saunders might be afraid of you. I'm not. I'll have the fight. And he got himself the fight. So fair play to him. And whoever wins this one keeps themselves very much in the world title mix.
Let's talk a bit about Martin Murray. How upsetting is it for Martin Murray, the fact that he was due to fight Billy Joe Saunders and Billy Joe Saunders had to withdraw twice due to an injury? How upsetting is that for Martin Murray? And how much credit have you got to give him for, you know, to keep on going, to keep his head up and to keep on wanting to fight and get in the ring for these big fights?
Well, he was incandescent that Billy Joe pulled out for the second time, because there's all the expense of the training camps that he's been through. He's been abroad, got himself into great shape, not once but twice, and I think part of that anger was due to the fact that he thought that he wasn't going to get a fight. But this one's come through. And I must say I'm absolutely delighted that Martin's getting the chance, getting the fight and getting the payday. And actually, as a fight for the viewers to watch, it might be that this is a better spectacle than Billy Joe against Martin would have been, because I think Martin might have found Billy's style difficult. This guy's more predictable. He comes forward, he's a hard guy, typical Mexican fighter if you like, and he against Martin promises to be a pretty good scrap for everybody to enjoy.
We all know a lot about Martin Murray. You know, he put up a good show against Gennady Golovkin, was very unlucky against the likes of George Groves and Sergio Martinez. What type of fighter is Martin Murray? What type of fight do you expect him to bring, especially with what's happened with Billy Joe Saunders and him withdrawing twice?
Martin's a fighter's fighter, isn't he? He might not have huge box office appeal, but people in the sport know how good he is. You know, you don't go to Argentina and take on Martinez and come away with what most people said was a pretty duff decision, and he should have got that verdict, unless you have some talent, and he clearly has that. Lost to Arthur Abraham again. That was a close one, and he lost to Felix Sturm. Again, people who saw that, me included, thought he was very unlucky not to get that verdict. So you can argue that on 3 occasions, 3 big fights, he's been on the wrong end of a decision. Now, within boxing, people know just how good, just how fit, and just how committed he is. And for a middleweight, he's huge, you know. I mean, you stand next to him, he's a genuine 6-footer, maybe a touch more, and he gets himself, goodness knows how he makes 11.5 stone, because he is a big unit, but he's 35 years old, still super fit, and as I say, he doesn't do anything badly. He's not flash, but so strong, so driven, and I think you'll see him give a very good account of himself on Saturday night.
How important is this fight to Martin Murray in the rest of his career, especially with going to try and win a world title? How important is it that Martin Murray puts in a good performance and wins the fight on Saturday night if he wants to tackle the likes of Billy Joe Saunders in the near future, or even the winner of Canelo versus Golovkin? Well,
vital. It's absolutely vital, and he knows it. If he doesn't win on Saturday night, I think you can say it's probably all over. If he wins, then he's still right in the mix-up, and he would potentially be made into a mandatory challenger for Gennady Golovkin. That could happen. Obviously, Billy Joe Saunders, the fight is still there, although Martin has said if that fight's going to happen, I want to have some absolute guarantee on purse, because I'm not going to have the danger of Billy Joe pulling out again. But yeah, I mean, he has to win. If he doesn't win, end of a great career. If he wins, then he continues, he rolls over, and those big fights could still be ahead.
September 15th, as I just mentioned, the rematch has been set for Canelo Alvarez versus Gennady Golovkin. First of all, how excited are you that we've got a rematch?
Well, you're excited insofar as they are two huge attraction middleweights, and it's nice to see them coming up again. The first fight actually wasn't a great fight, I didn't think, and I did think that Golovkin won it. Since then, all the controversy with Canelo failing the drugs test, so whether or not you think that fight actually should happen is a discussion point in itself. But yeah, I mean, I would favour Golovkin to win. I was going to say win again, because it was actually given as a controversial draw, wasn't it, first time round? But I'd give it Golovkin as a favourite to win that one once more, despite the fact that in many ways Canelo will be the home fighter, and you'd think that the odds one way or another in true Las Vegas fashion might be somewhat stacked in his direction.
The last time we saw Billy Joe Saunders fight was last year December, when he put in that brilliant performance against David Lemieux. Now obviously he's wanted the Golovkin fight, he's wanted the Canelo fight, he's had to withdraw from the Martin Murray fight due to injury, but there's other names in the middleweight division, such as Daniel Jacobs and Jamal Charlo. These potential fights you think that Billy Joe Saunders might look at if he doesn't get the winner of the Golovkin and Canelo fight? Well,
he just needs a fight, doesn't he? I think Billy, and I'm not saying anything nasty about him here, but I think Billy, for his own good, needs to keep busy. I think he'd probably agree if you were sitting here and you asked him that question. He'd say, yeah, I'd like to fight, before the end of the year, definitely. And I think he needs that. Who it's going to be, time will tell. You'd hope that it was going to be the winner of Golovkin and Canelo. Maybe, maybe not. There's politics involved as ever, but Billy Joe needs a big fight, and I think the time's right for him to move on to that.
Apart from Billy Joe Saunders and Canelo, which other middleweight do you think has a serious chance against Gennady Golovkin?
Well, Jacobs, I think, is probably.
He pushed him all the way last time.
Yeah, he did. I mean, it was a very close fight. And there are people out there who'd say that Jacobs was a bit unlucky to be on the wrong side of the decision. I mean, it's not. I wouldn't agree. I wouldn't go along with that. I thought Golovkin won it, but yeah, I think he's probably the most difficult, the most dangerous. It's his size. I mean, he's a big lad, Jacobs, and that creates problems of its own.
I just want to ask you your thoughts on the Tyson Fury return a couple of weeks ago. Obviously defeated Sefer. It wasn't the greatest of fights, a lot of showboating going on. Some people think that Tyson Fury perhaps didn't put in the performance that they wanted to. What did you make of Tyson Fury's comeback fight?
He just had to get back in the ring. I think a lot of the showboating, the messing about, for which he was criticised pretty robustly on social media, I think a lot of that was due to him being probably apprehensive and nervous. He's not the sort of guy who would openly admit that, but I think he was understandably a bit jittery coming back to it. It was foot into the water for the first time, but he came through, and when he started putting his punches together, pretty soon Seferi didn't want to know anything about it, did he? I think whoever he fights on August the 18th is likely to be bigger, and I think we'll see the best of Tyson when he's got somebody who actually generates a bit of a fear factor, whoever that might be. It's a step-by-step process, but I still believe that Tyson will get there. I mean, a lot of people coming up to me after the fight and saying, "You still think Tyson Fury is going to be up there fighting the likes of Joshua and Deontay Wilder next year?" And I'd say, well, don't judge him on what you saw against Seferi. Let's take it step by step and see where he is at the end of the year.
What type of an opponent do you expect to be on there in August the 18th in the ring with Tyson Fury?
Well, I hope he's physically bigger than Seferi. It would be nice to think that he's somebody who people would remember and know without having to go trawling through the record books to try and find out who he's fought. You'd like to see him in against a genuine heavyweight, and you'd like to see him in against a genuine live heavyweight, somebody who's not going in there to lie down, somebody who's going to try and give him a fight.
Yeah, it's a packed card on Saturday night at the O2 Arena. You've got Daniel Dubois versus Tom Little, and you've also got Anthony Yarde taking on Darius Sek. I just want to get your thoughts on Anthony Yarde. He's 15-0. He's at a good place right now. He's only been the distance once. At what point do you expect to see Anthony Yarde challenging for a world title?
What you've got to remember about Anthony Yarde, impressive as he's looked as a professional so far in that undefeated record that you talk about. He comes into a professional career on the back of, I think it's right to say, 12 amateur fights. You know, I mean, that is nothing when you compare with the likes of Kovalev, for instance, who came through the amateur setup and had goodness knows how many fights before. Yeah, those sort of people. And he didn't have any of that, so he's learning as he goes along. And yeah, he's done everything that's been asked of him so far. And I'm a big Anthony Yarde fan, but this is, you know, he's fighting Darius Sek on Saturday night, who's tall, rangy, a southpaw. It creates a different set of problems, and it's all part of the learning process for Anthony. He's a European level fighter at the moment, and I think people don't want to get just too carried away just yet about him moving on and fighting for a world title. That will happen, but as ever in boxing, as Tunde, his trainer, would tell you, it's all about timing. He doesn't want to get in there and get a world title fight. I mean, he could get a world title fight tomorrow. The skill of the game, of matchmaking, of preparing, of training, and so far as Anthony's concerned, keeping himself at the top level and learning, the secret is to get that chance at the right time and be in a position to take it.
Another fighter that's on the card on Saturday night is Ohara Davies. He takes on Paul Kamanga. Ohara Davies, you know, there's obviously the issues with the tweets about the Sun newspaper. And what have you made of Ohara Davies? Do you think Ohara Davies was perhaps pushed in the wrong direction by the people behind him?
Maybe.
And do you think now Ohara Davies will get to see the best of him, not only inside the ring but outside the ring, working under Frank Warren?
It's a fresh start, isn't it? You know, I mean, all of us, we all make mistakes in life, and I think he'd be the first to hold his hands up and say some of the things that he put on social media were ill-advised. Sometimes he lets his mouth run away with him, but he's a talent. You know, and everybody makes mistakes and has the chance to make a fresh start, and Ohara's one of those. You know, he's looking for a world title fight before too long, and if he comes through against Kamanga, and that's not a given on Saturday night, Kamanga's going to be a difficult opponent, but if he comes through against that, then he moves on potentially to Jack Catterall, potentially to Maurice Hooker, who beat Flanagan last week. You know, the chances and the fights are out there for him. He's got plenty of self-belief. And, you know, let's see what he can deliver. He's got his critics, but Ohara is a genuine player, and he may well be, come this time next year, he might be a world champion, you don't know.
Final question, another big fight to look forward to is, as I mentioned, Daniel Dubois. Tom Little's talking a big fight. He's very confident. He's very confident of taking Daniel Dubois into the later round, somewhere he's never been. What type of a fight do you think we're going to get on Saturday night, and what would be your prediction for that fight?
Well, I mean, Daniel Dubois has not gone past 4 rounds yet. Everything's stopped in double quick time. So if you're going to have a bet, you'd probably put it on another quick stoppage for Daniel Dubois. But as you say, his opponent on Saturday night's been talking a good fight. He's got fast hands, he can move a bit, he can spoil, and he says that he'll make Dubois miss and he'll punish him. Now, if he can do that, if he can put a bit of pressure on Daniel Dubois, then it's going to ask a few questions of him, isn't it? And that, again, is part of the learning process. Everybody's raving about Daniel, but we've not really seen him under pressure as yet. So if he can take him into the later rounds, then little, you know, I mean, he might show us something that we've not seen before. He believes he can beat him. We'll see. But it'll tell us a lot more one way or the other about Daniel Dubois.
John Rawling, looking forward to Saturday night. I know you are too. I want to thank you very much for talking to Lights Out. We hope to catch up with you very soon.
No problem.
Thank you very much.
No problem.